Non-farm payrolls. Consensus was 870. Previous was 938. And it was a lot higher than consensus, so they drove it up. They drove the dollar up with that. I see what's going on here. So when I go through the time frames, let's start by, well, we got the monthly chart here, and we know that we have supply in play. The only thing about this supply, as we've mentioned numerous times, is that it just broke this trend line here, but did not remove the opposing supply. And that trend line stems all the way back from here, and second point here, almost a third point, and then here. So it broke that trend line, but did not remove the opposing zone, which makes it more questionable than what we would normally want to see. And on the weekly chart, as price was coming into that supply, there was no ascending trend line to connect. So when it removed this area of demand, it shifted the dynamic, but there was no momentum shift. Price dropped through, came right back to that area of demand, headed back up, and now we're getting that reaction from supply. Okay, so price comes up and hits this area of supply on the weekly chart. Now, as price was rallying up here, we want to look at the formation that was being created on the daily. And what we could see is that there was no trend line to the upside. Okay, why does that matter? That reaches back here, and I believe, yeah, that's the beginning of the monthly. Okay, and we have weekly supply located right here. Within that weekly supply, we had daily supply here, and that daily supply was removed right here. So in terms of looking for solid evidence to suggest that price is going to drop from these areas, it continuously fell short of providing that for us. So with that supply being removed up here, that weekly supply is now weaker. Price drops and now contacts this area of demand, and now we're seeing a strong move. And at the same time, after price started rallying to the upside, they come out and they fidge with the non-farm payrolls so that it comes out as a positive thing. So that's interesting. That's interesting because if the dynamic was such where there was a trend line and there was daily supply up here and this demand zone wasn't hit and price was reversing back up while it was in consolidation and they came out with positive non-farm payrolls, my expectations would be that they're going to rally price into supply and drop it. And the only reason why they're making NFP positive was to lure the retail traders into long positions for them to reverse it. But this dynamic that I'm seeing is different than all of that. So it leads me to suspect that probably something else is taking place. So with this supply here, with this demand here in play, we have to look at what is going to counter this. Well, this supply has been removed. This supply was lightly tested here, which is why it was used here to drop price. And then it was tested one last time here. Okay, that's the reaction from weekly supply. And now demand is holding price and driving price up here. If price comes up and tests this area, my intuition is telling me that this will likely be removed. Okay, because if this weekly area of supply was going to hold, I would expect it to drop and to remove this area here, this daily area of demand. That's what my expectations would be. But for it to hold like this and cause price to rally up, that now puts into question whether or not we are going to get that drop. So I'm going to be watching that.